let's get into the offensive headlines here for Nebraska, and we hit on it a little bit. But for Dylan, I think this final 6 games is such a big stretch to kind of complete the book of the freshman year, because I think he has played above serve, at least at this point, what we thought a freshman quarterback should do.
Sure.
Kind of went through a little bit of, tough wind conditions and heat conditions and a good defensive mind in Schiano. How does he now bounce back against elite teams he's going to see here? Because you look at the defenses they're going to face. Indiana, top 10. Ohio State's definitely an elite defense. UCLA, I mean, they still got athletes on that defense. We know Wisconsin can play defense. We know Iowa can. And you go down the line. I mean, their USC is improved on defense. He is going to get really tested here over this final stretch of the season.
Yeah, and he was tested against Rutgers, and that was his first significantly uneven performance. 13 for 27, passing 134 yards. No TDs, was picked off once and sacked 4 times. Marcus Satterfield said he came back really well. I know, I've known his dad. I don't mind saying that. I've known his dad for 20 plus years. His dad would always emphasize you celebrate victories no matter what. So when Satterfield was saying that Dylan in the locker room was upbeat, happy, celebrating with his kids, he does not have children. He was celebrating with his teammates. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, you celebrate wins. It's not an individual sport. And they beat Rutgers, and it was a tough win.
I thought one of the most telling comments from Tuesday's post-practice interviews was when Marcus Satterfield was asked where he'd seen Dylan grow the most through that first half of the season. He said the biggest takeaway is that not everything is his fault. That after games early in the season, if the offense wasn't perfect, he put it all on his shoulders and blamed himself for not doing enough and putting even more pressure that was already being placed, probably more so than it needed to be, on a true freshman. So I think that kind of ability to, acknowledge areas you need to improve, but not continue to hold yourself down by putting all of the blame on your performance is a tangible sign of growth and a maturation in this position where, a young quarterback has all the talent in the world, but there's other variables that go into being successful at this level of college football. And I think stuff like that is probably stuff you can point to and be like, this is where he's really started to grow.
Another area, and I want to hit on the running game for Nebraska. Matt Rule said this week they've done a really good job of getting nice singles. Use a baseball analogy. We're in October. A lot of 4 to 7 yardish type runs, but they've really kind of lacked the 15 to 20 yard run. Yeah. And look, I'm not selfish enough to say they should be getting 50, 60 yards. Those are hard to come by. But I think for Nebraska's offense to take another step forward, they need to produce more of those 15 to 25 yard runs.
Rob, you wrote it today. What was the number of explosive runs Nebraska's had? 5?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Yes, from the 3 running backs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Barney's had some, but from their traditional running game, the Dante Dowdell, Ramir, and Emmett Johnson have 5 rushes of 15 yards or more.
That is a paltry number.
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's interesting listening to Rule because he does cite that. So he did an in-depth look at the running game. He said extensive look. So when he's analyzing it, he takes out the sweeps. Okay. Mm-hmm. He takes out the sacks and he just looks at the running back, basically the running back run game. He came to a conclusion that was interesting to me. And that is we get enough 4 and 5 yard runs, which indicates to me that he's okay with the movement up front. Like they must be moving the line of scrimmage more than I perceive. Because when I'm watching the games, I don't see a lot of movement up front, but I could be just not seeing it. And also, I'm an older gentleman that grew used to seeing the line of scrimmage move at Nebraska, where you'd see them blowing off a defensive line off the line of scrimmage noticeably. I mean, maybe you just don't.
That was just a different time in college football, though. There wasn't as much parity,
right?
And you would go into some of these games where Clinton Childs on the opening play would have an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah. Well, if he was in there,
yeah, and I think so. They're averaging 3.9 yards per rush as a team, which
is
great. It's okay.
Okay.
When you pair it up with the rest of the Big Ten, like it's kind of middle of the pack. Like it's not the worst, it's not the best, but it's decent. 4 and 5 yards. I think the issue though is that the movement you're talking about doesn't happen enough. You see it flashes where all of a sudden they're like the series against Rutgers when they're throwing in that jumbo tight end package with Mizuka. All of a sudden they're just moving the line and they're getting yards at will on those 4th and 1s. But then in the 4th quarter, when they need to seal the game and get a first down, they can't even gain a yard.
That's what Sean always
like,
says.
That's the stuff. Like the timing in which they're moving the line, it's just not sustained enough.
And Rutgers was playing safeties high, so you have a numbers advantage in those situations, and that's where Nebraska needs to get more running yards. When you have a numbers advantage in the box, you need to be able to get downhill.
Yep. You always say it, Sean. Part of the staple of a good run game is being able to run the ball when you need to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you just mentioned
situational running.
Yeah, situational running. And Robin just mentioned a critical element of that is late game. When you're trying to salt away a game.
4-minute offense.
4-minute offense. And they've just been okay that way. I mean, they're not hammering it home like Rule wants them to. Will that change? I don't know. We'll see.
Will we see Mizuka on the line, or is that just kind of the forbidden fruit and we're just going to have to wait till we see what we see in Bloomington? I mean, I lean that direction.
Nobody asked Rule about it this week.
No, and I don't know who's going to fall on that sword, if someone will later in the week, but
yeah, we'll talk again Thursday. Maybe I'll do it. Jump on that grenade just for the good of the Nebraska fans. They want to know.
Yeah, we weren't implying that you need to be the
okay,
one.
I'll do it.
It's not. Is it a sword? Is it a sword to fall on? Is that what that is?
No. Well, this just his response that he's a backup. He's not a guy. He almost was kind of offended that we kept asking about him. So
that's the risk. Like, you're just going to irritate Rule even more when he's tried to put this to bed. And I don't know, maybe it's just a deal where like what his answer is on Monday or Thursday doesn't really apply on Saturday because it's literally a daily evaluation with whatever's going on with
Here's the challenge you face on Thursday, Rob. What you want to ask, you can't word it this way, but what you want to say is this. Is he going to be in the starting lineup or not?
Yes.
That's what you want to say. You just got to figure out a way to word it better than that. Is he going to be in the starting lineup? Maybe you could just say that. That's a little direct.
Hey, Sipple wants to know, Coach.
Well, he hasn't played since the 4th quarter against Colorado in a true line. He's played these specialty roles
with the first team offense.
Yeah. He's come in for specialty snaps and special teams. But whatever had happened behind the scenes, has that been cleaned up?
Yeah, that's
that's probably the complication of this whole thing. Yeah,
it is. What's interesting about that though is so he only played that jumbo tight end in that big set, but Rule said that was almost a staple of his offense in Temple, where he would run that thing 15 times a game. So maybe if he's not starting, maybe you're going to see more of that jumbo set.